Hello on this wonderful, sunny Florida Thursday noon, a little past noon. This is Toni Weel. We have with us Gary Parents, Katie, and Sara from Virtuous Unicorns. I always love saying that, Virtuous Unicorns. Like when people ask, what are virtuous unicorns? Hmm. Okay.
Well, that would be all of us. All of us are virtuous unicorns. It's a movement of people that, are seeking the truth and, truth in what we should be living and how we should treat others and, our understanding of God and, just everything. It's when you act in virtue. It's us. The unicorns. We're the last unicorns. Like, we have the horn for purity and when I say purity, it's not like you have to be a virgin, you have to be like perfect. I mean, life is messy, but it's where your heart is, it's where your intention is.
Very true. Thank you. Now, today's topic, it was fermented foods. And Dr. Morse, I learned that from Dr. Morse because before that I had absolutely no clue. And he was like, you don't want to put fermented foods, rotting foods in your body. What's the use of that? So when I came across this lesson from life science that Lauren Whiteman, now Lauren Ferris, once sent to me, the whole course, and it's long, but I never really read everything. But then all of a sudden, my eye caught that fermented and putrefied foods. I always have trouble pronouncing that word. I was like, we have to dig into that because when I talk to people and we talk about what foods to eliminate from the diet, this always comes up, fermented foods. And we're not even aware how many fermented foods there are out there. It's
Mhm.
more than you think. It really is. And yeah, fermentation starts easily. If I leave my lemon water out for too long, then after a day and a half, I think, yeah. Is it then still good, Gary? No, it's
No.
throw out thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not that it doesn't taste good, but it has this bite to it. So I'm like,
Yeah, and yeah, I'm not a big fan of it. You know when it shifted, and
yeah.
if you leave it there long enough, it'll turn to alcohol.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I've seen that happen with uh, an forgotten bottle of smoothie in the fridge.
Yeah.
But I always thought it had to do with that people had to figure out what would be a good way to ferment to have it last longer. And then their lesson started with a recipe. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to put it on the screen because it is 10 pages and I'm not going to read all 10 pages. So if anyone is interested in getting this PDF, I'll be happy to send it to you. You can just email me at healthywithfruit at gmail.com. And it's in the description, so it's easy to find the email. But let me put it on the screen first. Oh yeah, I need to do share a screen. Think you see the correct one now, yes?
Yes.
Okay. I'll read you the recipe because I thought it was so interesting. Recipe. Take one fish and press it under a heavy stone for 24 hours. Remove the fish and pound it until it's soft and add 2 cups of salt. Lay the fish in the open sun for another day. Pack fish into straw and put into an open jar. Set jar with fish out in the sun for another month. Smash month-old salted fish into paste and use it as a soup or spread. Delicious. Yeah, I don't know what you guys think about it, but I thought it was,
Ugh, that
uh,
sounds awful. How do you know
it
when fish is bad?
I think you smell it.
I know it
You
smells
smell
awful
it.
anyway. I mean, poor
But
fish,
this,
but
yeah, it does. But with all the salt in it.
oh,
Anyway, this is a recipe for probably the first fermented food ever eaten by man. Today he eats many more types of foods that have undergone some fermenting processes. Cheese, yogurt, pickles, sauerkraut, soy sauce, vinegar, beer, and buttermilk are some of the more common fermented foods eaten today. Well, out of all these things, only cheese could ever have my attention because I love cheese, but not the soft cheeses, but the
Mhm,
really hard, salty cheeses. Yeah.
mhm.
And none of them are necessary in the diet. Now, what exactly is a fermented food? It is basically a food that has been very carefully spoiled. Fermentation occurs when certain microorganisms, bacteria break down a food into a various waste product. If the wrong types of microorganism decompose the food, then putrefaction or rotting occurs. Fermented food, then, are the result of active bacteria and contain their waste product, lactic acid and acetic acid, are two examples. Can you guys tell me how I correctly pronounce that word putrefied?
Putrefied.
Putrefied. Okay,
Yep,
I have to do it faster and not think about it.
yep.
Putrefied or rotten foods are also contain bacteria and certain waste products, usually as a nitrogenous substance like ammonia. Why do people want to eat rotting or decayed food? Can these foods be beneficial in any way, as some people have claimed? What happens when you eat fermented foods? Fermented foods like yogurt, pickles, beer, and so on were originally used as a substance for fresh foods. Fermentation became a way of preserving foods for the time there was no supply of fresh food. In effect, man found a way to spoil his food by choice so that he could eat it at a later date. Cheese, for example, was one way that milk could be preserved without refrigeration. Excess cucumbers and cabbage were turned into pickles and sauerkraut for the winter. Fermented food were actually some of the first preserved foods. And like all preserved foods, they cannot supply the ingredients of good nutrition. Still, man has eaten them for hundreds of years, and over that time, he has developed some good reason or excuses for eating foods that are
Mm.
full of bacteria, decay, and waste products. So let's look at the reasons given for including fermented foods of the diet. I think I only go over all these things because this is what comes up most of the time. But the article or the lesson keeps going on and also goes into the harmful effects actually of fermented foods and the side effects that we don't even think about. But these are the myths, and I think this is an important section. And he says there are basically four reasons. Fermented foods are a healthy way to preserve food. And fermented foods can replace beneficial bacteria in the intestines. Fermented foods can aid digestion. Fermented foods are necessary for a long life. All of these reasons are false. And it is not a healthy way to keep foods. Once a food has begun to ferment, it usually continues to do so until it has completely rotted. To halt the fermentation process, either salt, vinegar, or extreme cold is used to inhibit the growth of the bacteria living in the food. Many fermented foods are heavily salted. Salt is a biocide. It kills and inhibits life. The salt in fermented foods prevent the native bacteria from multiplying to the point where I got that word again.
Putrefied?
Putrefaction occurs.
Oh,
Salt is I always had an issue with that word. And then it's so simple, but it's maybe, yeah, it's my second language and some words just don't work that well. Salt is a usually and harmful inorganic chemical that should never be eaten. Sorry, Carrie. Well,
oh,
only
well, yeah.
only tiny little bits in lemon water or water.
Well, think about this though, because I learned this from Dr. Morse, and I'm sure everybody else that follows him has learned this too. There was I think it was a young man in Alaska, and he had massive gut issues, and they fed him rotten meat, and it cured him.
Yeah, keep going.
That was it. That was it. Dr. Morse,
We're
we
all waiting on
can't,
the punchline.
yeah. So we can't outrule anything. If you tried everything and nothing works,
Yeah.
try things that kind of go against things a little bit, because there's a lot of probiotics in fermented food, but you can't have a steady diet of it. I think that's why a lot of people died in the West at a younger age, is because they were just trying to survive through the winter, and the fresh fruits and vegetables or whatever they had in that area were not available. So they started fermenting everything. And like anything, too much is not good for you. And if that's what you're living on all winter long, then yeah, I can see where you'd have issues.
Yeah, and but you mentioned about healing somebody with a rotten food. I can imagine how the body responds to that. I mean, it wants to get rid of it ASAP, so
Yes.
you actually start automatically right away a big detox, and that will heal you. So it's not so unusual because then you get to the same as that people say, "Oh, when I'm on a carnivore, I heal." Yeah, because you leave all the other stuff out,
Yes.
and that is what's detoxing your body or what's healing your body. But
Hmm.
come back in 3, 6, or maybe months or maybe a year, you will talk differently. So yeah, so that was the one part about let me see, where was I? Oh, that was about the salt. And it is true. I mean, of course I ate sauerkraut. I mean, Netherlands, Germany, that's sauerkraut country pretty much.
Yeah.
Here, they eat it completely different, but the way we ate it was sauerkraut with mashed potato mixed up, and that was a winter dish, and it was very yeah, everybody ate that at least once a week.
Yeah.
So
See, you can have a little of just about anything, but when you start eating a lot of stuff, then that becomes an issue. Uh, an apple a day keeps the doctor away, not a bushel a day. Uh, and you never hear those words anymore about an apple a day keeps the doctor away. Um, and now, well, I don't know, that appeal that they're putting on the outside so it doesn't age. They're doing that on all the fruits and vegetables now, so that they have a longer shelf life. Because it's not about our life; it's about the life of the bottom line for these companies.
yeah.
And they got 8 billion people that they can go through, and so they don't care if people die. They don't really. They need you on their medications forever, and forever is your lifespan. And that's what their whole goal is. That's what they've hypnotized everybody to believe and do, and and to get away from real food. So that's hopefully what we're going to get back to, is real food. I think we're going to have to grow it ourselves. We definitely, because of your show and all the influences from the group, we're helping to reset the mind to take back your power. You're powerful beyond measure, and I see it all the time when like with Mike, his sciatica kicked in and he couldn't even roll over in bed. About, I'd say, between 10 and 20 minutes of me working with him, all the pain was completely gone. He could go for hikes, he could do whatever. And those things are not hard to get rid of. But if you go to a doctor, they're going to give you a muscle relaxer, or they're going to do some weird thing, and it only takes a matter of minutes to correct most things. But you have to know. So that's what our journey is as this group, is to help people grow and understand that they're a lot more powerful than they think they are. And we're surrendering our energy, which is our breath through our nose. We're surrendering our breath and our energy to people that profit from our sickness. And until we start realizing that, like that root canal, just have the tooth pulled. Uh, I don't like anything in in my dental work that's going to cause harm. Like mercury and aluminum and root canals. And it's like, are they doing this on purpose? Because you go to a third world country, like where the natives are and stuff, they all have perfect teeth. There's room for them. Uh, so, but they have a diet, and that diet has gone through generations and they haven't really shifted it. And whatever it is they're eating, it's cleaning their teeth at the same time. They don't have dentists. They don't have, I would assume they don't have toothbrushes, but, and as that stuff is introduced to groups, they start having issues.
Now we got away from the fermented food and into teeth.
Yeah, sorry.
And a question comes up because since people have so much issues with their teeth, you have these, they call it, what is it, 1 on 4 or so, that's implants. So
Hmm.
what do you think about that? Because I know a few detox specialists, and I'm looking at that too because my teeth got really bad, and it's absolutely my own fault. I had already a lot of issues with my teeth, but I didn't eat enough greens. And over it's about 6 years now that I've been doing this, and being on high fruit and completely and really completely ignoring the greens and the minerals, my teeth suffered from that. So anyone who's listening, get your greens, get that one, what is it, lettuce head a day, get your cucumber. If you like tomato, do the cherry tomato. That's what Dr. Moore says. But make sure that you get your greens in. There are so many different types of lettuces that
Mm.
no excuse. It's and if you don't like to chew, an hour in for your lettuce, you can put it in the blender. It's like if you can
Mm.
eat it, chew it. It's important. Keep chewing it because that keeps the teeth in your mouth too. If you don't chew and you only on liquid, you will lose your teeth also. Okay, yeah, but I did want to get your input on implants then, since we now talk about teeth, but let's not make it long so we can go back to
Right,
the
right, right.
conversation.
So my thought in implants is anytime that you put metal in the body's going to react to it. And I think fermented food does affect your teeth because if it affects your body, it has to affect your teeth because it's working on your electrical system. Uh, but to put a bolt in your mouth, in the bone in your jaw or up top, and hook a tooth to it, whether it's magnetic or screwed on or whatever it is, I'm not a big fan of that
Yeah,
because
you don't want to have magnets in your mouth. That doesn't make sense.
right, and they have those very powerful magnets.
Yeah, and I thought, that's interesting. And then I was thinking again, I was like, I don't think that's such a good idea.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of metal in the mouth. I'm not a big fan of plastic in the mouth. You know, a lot of people have false
Yeah, well,
teeth.
what is somebody going to do who lost a lot of teeth or teeth are so bad they need to do something?
Hmm. Well, if anything, I'd just go with a plate. A bottom one is an issue. A bottom plate is always an issue, uh, because the glues don't hold it that well because it can rock on the palate of your mouth up top. You have the whole thing. It's like one big. It's harder to get it to move, but on the bottom, because it's a horseshoe, you know, when you bite down on one side, the other side will pop up. Uh, so those are really concerning issues, but I mean they fit much better than they used to. We have glues and stuff that we can use to help hold them in. But like eating an apple might not be the best thing. No, I know people that have spent 50,000 getting their teeth done and magnetics and all that stuff, and they love them. But there's a space between your gums and those things, and I don't want a magnet next to my brain. So anyway, I'm gonna stop there so we can move on.
Yeah, it's we always wonder that the body gets rid of what is not what you said before, what is not life, or actually you mentioned that before we got
Yeah,
on the recording. And yeah, then I'm thinking like, okay, I have a big metal piece in my body. Without that piece in my body, it won't function. I won't be able to walk. So,
yeah. Well, and it's gonna interrupt the electromagnetic field in your mouth. You know, like I have two plates and six screws in this arm that's been there since 1979. Now they don't bother me, but that could be just a rare occasion because a lot of people can tell what the weather's going to be
oh
when they
yeah,
have a,
yeah,
and I can't.
yeah.
That doesn't. There's no thing there for me. But uh, even people that have bullets in them, the body will knit a protective layer around it so that it can't spread through the body, and those bullets can be in there for the rest of your life.
Hmm.
Or metal like shrapnel from being in a war or something like that. They just a lot of that they can't get to it because it's too dangerous, so they leave it there, and the body knits a little cocoon around it, and to protect it, to isolate it, so that it can't affect the body. The body is so amazing, and our mind is so not.
I, well, that just made me think of something too, real quick. But there was a study shown where if you get like a picture of something and you try to think about that picture, try to hold that vision of that picture for like 3 minutes, and then see how many times your mind starts talking about something else during that, and you'll see that you really are not in control of your mind.
That's right.
But
That's right.
what
And
I was, oh, sorry, go ahead.
don't. Uh, but it's pulling us off course. The mind pulls us
Mhm.
off. The best way to take care of something usually is to leave it alone. If you want nature to heal, leave it alone. Stop spraying it. Stop ripping it apart,
Mhm.
and just let it do its thing.
Yeah, it's the same thing. Like those tomcats that live outside, you
Hmm.
can't do anything with them. And aren't they the things that live the longest? That thing comes walking around. You're like, oh my gosh, it's still alive. And it's
Yeah.
because you're letting nature do what nature's supposed to do.
Hmm.
You're not
Hmm.
interfering. But what I wanted to say about the teeth and fermented food while we're on teeth too is that fermented foods they're acidic, and
Yeah.
they're a bacterial waste basically. And all it's doing is really the acid is just eating away at the enamel. It's like a slow erosion on our teeth. It doesn't nourish your body. It slowly is it's like corroding the foundation, and it literally starts with your teeth. Your mouth is your gateway, and what you put in, you are going to see the effects of it. Your teeth are the canary in the coal mine. So fermented foods and teeth, it's just a slow erosion of it. It's an acid buildup.
All
That
right,
is
thank
true.
you. What, you want to say something, Gary?
No, I just agree. Yeah, that's
Okay,
definitely
okay.
true.
Yeah, there is another thing that I never liked, and that's vinegar. And it is what they write here, the popular additive to various fermented foods.
Hmm.
Vinegar itself is the result of fermentation, and it's used in concentration to halt the continual decay of fermented foods. Vinegar, however, disrupts the digestion, kills healthy foods' blood cells, and irritates all the membranes. Pickles and other foods which have been soaked in vinegar are rendered totally indigestible. Many times the digestive juices cannot penetrate and break down the food preserved by vinegar, and so the fermented food passes through the system just as it was swallowed. A few sorry. A few fermented foods such as yogurt and beer in one sentence, I've never seen that before, are not salted or preserved with vinegar. These types of fermented foods are usually held at low temperatures or bottled to inhibit the continuing growth of the fermenting bacteria. Now, the next one was fermented foods do not replace beneficial bacteria. One of the reasons most often given for eating fermented food is that they replace beneficial bacteria, which naturally live in the intestines. These bacteria aid in the breakdown of food particles and are part of our native intestinal microflora. By eating foods rich in bacteria, such as the fermented foods, it is believed that our own native bacteria will be enriched and re-established. It sounds reasonable, but this is also a myth. The effects of fermented food on the intestinal bacteria are only transitory at best. For example, one of the major so-called beneficial bacteria is called the Lactobacillus bulgaricus. It's found in yogurt and other naturally fermented foods. This bacteria, however, is not a normal inhabitant of the intestine, and it does not survive long in that environment. In fact, as soon as the foods contain this bacteria are no longer, In fact, as soon as the foods containing this bacteria are no longer eaten, this beneficial bacteria packs its bags and leaves your intestines with the next bowel movement. Doesn't quite make sense the way it's written here. Maybe a word missing. Still, there is the persistent insistence that fermented foods can somehow re-establish the needed bacteria in the intestines. People are often advised to drink buttermilk, yuck, or eat some yogurt, or take a swig of acidophilus after taking antibiotics, which have killed the beneficial bacteria along with the so-called harmful bacteria. This is quite humorous. First, some bacteria are deemed bad or harmful, and a pill is taken to kill them. But the pill works too well, and bacteria we call good are also killed. So now we must eat foods full of bacteria to get the good bacteria back into our system. Because of this claim made for fermented foods, much research has been done to see if they can indeed re-establish beneficial bacteria in the intestines. According to a study reported in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, the influence of dietary microflora bacteria on the large intestine microflora is unsubstantiated. The researchers also discovered that even eating 2 pounds daily of true Bulgarian yogurt failed to elicit a response in the fecal flora. So that's one myth out the door. And I hear that quite often, and you see in the health food stores rows and rows of pro and prebiotics too.
Toni, before we move on, can we jump back up to vinegar real quick?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Vinegar is what's it called? Like acetic acid, and so it's basically like a bacterial waste product. And it's a sharp taste in your body, and that is not your body's friend. It's a complete warning sign. It irritates your tissues, disrupts digestion. It's your body screaming like, no, we do not want this. And it does not preserve you. It preserves death. That's what they use vinegar for, to preserve death. So it does not help us in any way. It's wild to think that vinegar will like quote clean us out when it actually just throws the body in defense mode. The body speeds everything up inside of itself once you introduce vinegar to it to get it out, because it's not healing. It is trying to evacuate the threat. That's why when people think like, oh, it's good for me, I get results quick. Yeah, because it's not good for you. It's your body going to emergency alert and shooting it right through your system.
And
So
then, yeah, and then there are people who drink that they
apple cider
dilute it with
vinegar.
water. Yeah, drink it
Uh,
every day for years.
yeah. If something burns, corrodes, or blocks digestion, it's not meant for your body.
Right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
And it's the same exact thing like the myth with salt. Like salt shuts down life, vinegar irritates it. And neither of them will nourish your life. So, and people call them superfoods. So that was my take on vinegar.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Fermented food aids digestion. When a rotten or spoiled food is eaten, the body hurries it to the nearest exit, what you just already mentioned,
Yep.
in an effort to protect itself. If the food is extremely putrefact, diarrhea may result. If the food is fermented, an increased motility of the intestines occur. This increase in intestinal motion is wrongly associated with beneficial digestive or laxative properties of the fermented food. In reality, the body is trying to speedily eliminate a substandard food. Do you know that for most people that also happens with coffee? And that they feel that they need to drink a cup of coffee in the morning to make them go.
I
And it's
hear that
like,
all the time. And coffee enemas too.
yeah, and it's like, think
Yeah.
about it, you get diarrhea and it makes you go because your body wants to get rid of it ASAP. And if you see it because there are even in the raw vegan world, you will see recipes in books that have apple cider vinegar. Oh, the apple cider vinegar with the mother as being good. And I'm always like, just replace it with lemon.
Yes.
Yeah, that works.
Yeah, it's the best cleaner. I used to make kombucha, uh, but my body never really wanted it. You
Yep.
know what I mean? When I drank it, I would drink it, but every time I took a swallow, it was like, no.
Yeah, and it's that's a lot of it has a lot of sugar in it too.
Hmm.
And I remember when it was first sold, I even forgot about the kombucha. When it was first sold, they had a tiny bit in the health food store. Now it's row after row with
Yeah.
really different brands. And even in going back like maybe 5, 6 years, there was a booth on the farmers market in Rose. They made kombucha, and
Hmm.
everybody wanted it because this was the new superfood and it was
Yeah.
healthy and you absolutely need it. Now, I see barely anyone there for buying it. So I think that the big thing with kombucha is over. And maybe because people feel they don't get the benefits of it, or maybe it was just, a fad, and
Yeah, it was more
it's
of a
still out
fad.
there, huh?
Yeah, I think it was more of a fad.
Mm-hmm. I do too.
There's a certain stable group that will stay on it.
Hmm.
The crunchy moms. That's what they call them.
Yeah.
People that make their own kombucha and stuff like that. It's
Yeah.
crunchy.
Yeah. And yeah, I used to make it. I
Mhm.
had a mother that was like almost 3 inches thick. Um, and we'd give parts of it away, so they could start. But, on the beer thing, because we're talking about fermented foods here, beer is second only to soy for estrogen. And that's why the man boobs and the big bellies, because it's completely throwing your body off. Um,
Mhm.
and there was something else too I was going to cover there. But there's a lot of estrogen in beer. So if people are, you know, they're having a reaction to the estrogen. if you drink a beer and your body starts to swell, you're having a reaction with that, and the body doesn't want it. And the mind, because of the influences of television and everything, and all young people, and all these fast food places, and they're all playing volleyball, and like Coors has the train coming through the volleyball game, and everybody's all raising their cans and this stuff. That's why people are psychologically being bombarded with this stuff, and they're being influenced to destroy their own health through those commercials. Because, like I said, it's not about our health. It's about the health of the bottom line for the corporations.
Corporations. Yep.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. Corporations. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Oh yeah. Before we move on to for yogurt, I wanted to say too that yogurt does not aid in digestion. It just causes less chaos than milk does for most people. And you're just introducing more of that to an already inflamed body. And people need to get over this whole thing that you've mistaken the laxative effect for a healing effect. Just because something moves through you fast doesn't mean it's good for
Right. And that was the other thing I wanted to do with yogurt.
you.
If you read the back of the package, they don't leave the natural biotic in it. Did you know that? They put a synthetic one in. They kill that one and put a synthetic uh, probiotic in it. Or what is it in yogurt that makes it so good, isn't it? Because it's a probiotic.
I'm not really sure, but my next question would be too is I know we're going to get questions on this maybe, but people make like their own yogurts at home. So then they do leave the active
Yes.
probiotic in there. And then some
Right.
people will say, well, I make oat from oat milk and I make it from almond milk and stuff like that. So what would be your response to that? I mean, it's
Don't.
still fermented, but yeah.
Yeah. Don't make it. Most of the stuff that we're guided to is like healthy, non-healthy. It's the bacteria in the yogurt. They kill the bacteria in the yogurt and put in a synthetic bacteria. Why? Shelf life. So you still think that you're getting that bacteria, but if you turn it over, all that bacteria is man-made. So those are the things we have to be careful of. I mean, their job is to make a long-lasting product so they don't have to throw it away. Well, it's kind of like almost everything that we have is a byproduct of some industrial thing, and it costs so much to throw it away that they give it to us in little increments and tell us how good it is for us. I heard a dentist yesterday say that because one of the states is getting rid of fluoride in the water.
Yeah, Florida.
Yeah. And guess what the doctor said, the dentist? Well, you better start having a whole bunch of new dentists come online because we're going to be really busy. Well, guess what, pal? You're really busy right now. I think we have some of the worst teeth. We're good at making them look good, but we're not good at keeping them healthy. And I think that's right from the top down. There's money in drilling and filling. And so I see the almost all the medical thing it's just kind of gone sideways. And I don't know if that's because we're waking up or it's just so obvious that you can't deny it anymore. I'm not sure which way that is, but yeah, we got to really start standing up inside ourselves and helping people. Like this is why I'm going to be doing most likely qigong and breathwork for the rest of my life, because if you start breathing properly, that's the engine of your body. It turns up your metabolism, and it works every square inch. It's moving blood, it's moving lymph, and all these things that we're doing, like with fermented foods and all this stuff. That's just marketing. We should just be living a simple life. One of the things that I try to do is And because most videos are this way, they tell you what's wrong. They don't tell you how to fix it.
Right.
Well, I'd rather tell people or share with people how to fix something, not that they're going to be on this thing for the rest of your life and you're going to be doing this and you're going to be, and you got to have surgery and you got to do it. No, you don't need to do that. The body heals itself. And that's something that the medical system doesn't believe. They don't believe the body heals itself. They have to do it. And they've convinced people of that.
Yeah, and we are not even allowed to say that the body heals itself.
Yeah, well, I do it all the time because I don't care.
I have been doing it, so yeah.
Can I jump in real quickly here? Because
Yeah.
so Sunday was Mother's Day, and my dad, he's had a couple health scares, and he just recently had one, and had to go through some testing last week.
Mhm.
And so he gave all of the women these health books, and I thought, okay, I'm just going to read this just to see a little bit. Well, I only got to I read through chapter 3, but chapter 3 had me on fire. I had my pencil, I was scratching things out, I was circling things, I was making comments all over it. And then I was like, there's a time when you bite your tongue and there's a time when you don't bite your tongue. And chapter 3 is when you don't bite your tongue.
Mm-hmm.
Because these two medical doctors wrote this book, and this is now their second edition. They've had a lot of success with this book. And I had to email my dad and say, here are all my red flags about chapter 3. They basically are teaching evolution. And they were taught, and I was just dumbfounded. And so there's so much misconception about how we were created. And if you've got these medical doctors who have no idea how they were created, they think we came from chimps, monkeys. They said our brains came from worms and the fish got it figured out. So basically we have a fish brain. And I was like, are you kidding me? I couldn't even believe it. They said we came from bacteria, algae, and I can't remember something else. But I just basically had to say, I would like to read the rest of the book. The thing is that if at chapter 3 they're saying this is how we were created, then I know that the rest of the book is going to be based off of what their belief is in how we were created. Well, if you don't know the truth, then you have no idea about your human anatomy. You don't know how it works. And so then the rest of the information is going to be very misleading. And so I would like to finish the book, except I don't really want to finish the book because if already right now I can't be around people that I don't resonate with, then and I feel yucky about it, then how am I going to read a book that I don't resonate with? It's going to make me feel yucky. So I thought, you know what, I'm not going to read the book, but here are some red flags, Dad, that you should maybe consider, because just like me, I buy the Dr. Morse resource book and I have multiple copies and I pass them out to people. I leave it in lockers at the gym for people as a gift. If they want to take it, they take it. If they don't, they don't. But my dad is the same way. He will find a book that he resonates with and he'll buy multiple copies and he'll give it out. And I'm like, please don't buy multiple copies of this book. You need to consider this information. I know it's not about fermented foods, but I just wanted to point out that our medical field, yes, it is kind of changing. People are waking up, but there's still so much misunderstanding, which then leads to misleading people because they don't understand it. And that's where we are. And so now we're still kind of in this transition phase. And so that's why these shows are so important so that we do get the truth out and how our bodies work and things like that. So,
Katie, that might not have been related to fermented foods, but what it was related to is the fact that we are frequency beings. And, you can say like, we come from God, but, God, is frequency and we are frequency and we're magnetic and it's been proven we're electrical beings. So by having the fermented foods and eating the death and doing things like that, that does lower our frequencies. And when you are in lower frequency, you are in fear, and a lot of people turn to that kind of stuff and they start believing in the fear and they believe the lies. And that is okay. I mean, like, nobody should ever feel bad that they're in that state, but by eating the foods that what is meant for us, the fruits, berries, the melons, the vegetables and things like that, you are going to raise your frequency. And by raising the frequency, that's when you start hearing the truth. And that's when you start seeing things. So yeah, that can be still tied back to fermented foods, but for sure.
Yeah,
What it did was very powerful.
Yeah, because everything is frequency. So that fermented food has a frequency to it, and we're putting it in the body, and the body has to react. We're forcing the body to react to it. That's what happens whenever we eat. We're forcing the body to react to that, and it takes what it needs, and it pushes the rest out through the 13 channels of elimination to get rid of it, because it can't stay in the body, and that's why we detox, because we're getting more stuff in there than the body's able to eliminate, because our body's not really functioning properly, and most of that is breath and hydration. Because out here, I have done no herbs. I have herbs in the van, but I haven't given anybody herbs. We have done Master Cleanse, and we have done Qigong and breath work. And it is mind-blowing. Now, this Leanne, she's been a nurse for 35 years. And her body was completely, almost in paralysis. And in 3 weeks, it completely turned around. We didn't do a special diet. We didn't do a special anything. We just, the only thing special was the breath work, the Qigong, and the Master Cleanse. That was it. And in 3 weeks, she can stand up straight. Her walk, she's still got a little bit of a hip issue there, but that's going to go away. All of it will go away. She's had surgeries where she's had things taken out of her wrists, like little growths and things, and they were growing back. They're going because it's in the lymph. And when you clean that lymphatic system, your body has no choice. It has to heal itself. It's crazy, but it's true. And I'm witnessing it firsthand. They wanted to put my they didn't want to do my Facebook but they agreed to do my YouTube for this festival. And I called them and I said, you know what? Let's not even put any of my social stuff up there. I'm going to go there. I'm going to be face to face where I have more of an influence. And that doesn't mean that I don't like media, but I think for this particular festival, I don't care about that. I want to go. I want to be in tune with the people and just teach them how to breathe and how to move and how not to overthink. Because this is one of the other big things. That's why the mind gets in the way of the body healing itself. We've been taught that we have to regulate the body. The body's self-regulating. And that's why the mind gets in the way. Well, I get this, so I've checked, and I'm going to take this pill, or I'm going to take that liquid, or I'm going to. We're not giving our body a true chance to heal, and that's what we have to do. Just breathe really slow. Inhale through the nose, exhale through the mouth twice as long as you inhaled, and it will pull you out of fight or flight where your blood is in your limbs, and it leaves the core kind of vacant. You can't, no critical thinking, heart and lungs are out, the digestive system's off. When you exhale longer than you inhale, you pull the blood back into the core of the body so you can have critical thinking, and your heart and your lungs relax, and you're getting more oxygen blood transfer, and it totally changes your whole life. Those simple things. And there's only 3. And we did ground to the earth too a lot.
I
Which
think
changes.
your lemon water, the master
Yeah.
cleanse, is a huge part of it.
It's amazing.
Yeah, I experienced that myself. Well,
Yeah.
let's get back a little
Okay.
to fermented foods, and that was actually about that was about milk. And
Yes.
the idea that fermented foods could somehow make digestion easier probably came from the observation of people who could not tolerate whole milk, but could eat yogurt or some other fermented milk product. Over 70% of the world's adults cannot digest milk. They lack a digestive enzyme called lactase that is needed to digest milk, sugar, or lactose. Undigested lactose results in diarrhea, cramping, and abdominal pain. Fermented milk products are low in lactose and cause less discomfort than unfermented milk. Now, I find it weird actually that it is mentioned that 70% of the world's adults cannot digest milk and that they lack a digestive enzyme. I thought, would we we have the same, pretty much the same design, so we would all lack that digestive enzyme, that we only have the first few years, and then what was it? It stopped after 2 years or 3 years. And from that age, a child is usually no longer on mother's breast milk, and starts, or maybe sometimes sooner, starts a cow's milk, and get all these problems. But when they say we have a lack of a digestive system, it's like, 70% of the world's adults have something that's not right in their body, and I don't believe in that. I think we all lack that digestive enzyme, which is normal.
Yes. Yeah, because there's a certain percentage of people that can do anything. Like people that smoke cigarettes and live to be 105, and there's
Yeah, well, maybe they have a healthy diet. Who knows?
well, yeah, I
We
mean,
knew of a person. This was way back in Groningen, where I in the Netherlands, where I lived before I moved to the U.S. And we had heard about a gentleman and he had been on TV there, on local TV, and he ate nothing but beans his whole life. That's all he ate. And he was old. He was in his 80s or 90s. He,
yeah,
he only ate beans, but that means he didn't eat any of the other junk.
yeah. It's like the movie Super Size Me.
Oh gosh.
They had a guy there that because they were saying that the food would make you gain weight and all this stuff. There was a guy in that video that they interviewed. He had two Big Macs, Whoppers. It was Burger King. He had two Whoppers every single day, 7 days a week. He even got married at that Burger King, and he hasn't gained a pound. He looks healthy as can be. Uh, he said somebody paid him enough money to go buy two Big Macs because they're trying to break that Whopper thing, right? And so he said, I went to McDonald's, had two Big Macs, and then I drove down to Burger King and had two Whoppers. But I mean, there's always an exception. And what you'll find in the most most times is they're going to show you the one person, and they're going to build a story around that so that you'll do what that one person did, but it may be making everybody else sick. And I think the fermented foods are no different. It's most people are going to have an issue, but there's always going to be that little small group, and then they can get into that small group and they can advertise that and manipulate that information. Uh,
Yeah, but
so
it's usually the results that people have within the first few weeks or months, and those
yeah,
reviews, they pop up, talk to
yeah,
them after 6 months or a year.
yeah.
Anyway, this there was here a part that I really want to read. Fermented foods, in this case fermented milk products, are not aiding digestion, but instead are just low in one of the factors that may cause digestive distress, lactose. Digestion is always and entirely under control by the body. Foods cannot aid digestion any more than they can aid breathing or circulation. True, unsuitable foods can disrupt digestion, like milk and its products, but it is fallacious. Fallacious. I haven't seen that word. I know what it means, but I haven't seen it before. It is fallacious to see, or maybe I pronounce it wrong, that foods which do not disrupt digestion are in fact aiding it. Food is inert. It can do nothing. It is acted on by the body. It cannot perform or abet an active organic process. And that's it, you know. Food is not healing. So make food your medicine is not really true, because you have to create the perfect circumstances for the body to heal, and that includes food. The second thing to be learned is that obviously milk and its products are not good foods for the human body. It is if a food cannot be enjoyed in its natural and unprocessed state, then it's not suitable food for the human diet. If milk must first be fermented or partially decomposed before it can be tolerated, then why should it ever be used in the first place? And even as a child, I said, milk is for cows. I hated milk. Really hated milk. Okay, where was I? Remember that foods cannot improve digestion, be they papayas or yogurt or sauerkraut. Digestion is improving by allowing the body to rest from this process, fasting, and letting it regenerate its own capacities, not by swallowing a fermented and rotted food. Yeah, it keeps going on about eating a rotting food for a longer life. Well, I think from everything that we have been reading and talking about so far, yeah, it says here, stay young, live long, and have your soul fortified. Quite a claim for a dishful of soured milk, if only it were true. Oh, that is about, yeah. And I heard about that too. Here's a recent promotion for eating yogurt, perhaps the most popular fermented food. Yogurt can cure ulcers, relieve sunburn, and forestall a hangover. It can be used as a facial or as a remedy for malaria. It confers long life and good looks, prolongs youth, and fortifies the soul. No, no. So that is not something that we are saying. Please be aware of that. That was just a marketing thing, a promotion for eating yogurt. The idea that fermented foods can prolong life is totally unsubstantiated. This belief got its start around the turn of the 20th century when an over-enthusiastic researcher named Uya Metchikov visited the Bulgarians in Europe. He discovered that they had the greatest number of people who had lived past 100 years. And most of these people also incidentally ate yogurt. He seized upon these two coincidences and tried to present them as cause and effect without any research or facts. Okay. Well, let's go on to the harmful effects of fermented food, because I think when you have, like with milk, and it causes you diarrhea. I know someone who is now, how old is he? He's 78 years old. He drinks a gallon of milk
Mhm.
and every day, whole milk. He has constant diarrhea. I've told him for years he shouldn't drink milk, or at least less, but it falls on deaf ears.
Mhm.
And it cannot be good. But he feels like, I made it to 78, and my father made it to 103. But his father never drank that much. He maybe drank like 6 ounces, and he always wanted buttermilk. That was the most disgusting thing.
Mhm.
But he drank like, maybe 6 ounces of buttermilk every day, every other day. So, and what you mentioned about, I think that what made me think about it is that my husband can eat anything and everything. He
Mhm.
will not gain any weight, not any. If I would eat less than half of what he ate, and that was before we knew about Dr. Morse, if I would only eat half, I would probably gain 5, 6 pounds in a week. So, our bodies do respond differently to
Mhm.
to what we put in there.
Right, and we have to be
Yeah.
explorers.
Yeah, and I know the weaknesses that I had even as a child, and then that had to do with the thyroid function and trauma. He didn't have any trauma in his life, which is pretty interesting because that is only very few people who can say that. But anyway, but yeah, when he still drank beer, he had the same effects as everyone else that you already mentioned.
Yeah, and the
See,
milk's doing the same thing.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Well, yeah, it's not the estrogen part of it, but estrogen. I mean, milk can make people put on a lot of weight.
Toni, Sarah got kicked out and she's in the waiting room, just so you
Oh,
know.
I'm so sorry. Let me find it. There you are. I always struggle how to get this back because it minimizes, and now I need it to maximize. There we go. That's not really maximized. Ah, there. Sorry, Sarah.
No problem. My Wi-Fi went down for some reason, but I'm here.
I was going to say because it wasn't us that kicked you out.
Well, good.
Okay, Jane is like, what book are you reading from? It is not a book, Jane. Jane or Janelle, what was it? I think Janelle. It is the life science lessons, and that has to do with what is it? Natural hygiene. And it was Lauren, her name was then Whiteman, it's now Ferris, he got married. And she sent all the lessons to me, so I do have all the lessons. And it's quite interesting. And it's already old, but I feel it's really, you cannot put really a time on it, so that's written so
Right.
many years ago. It still works today. But I can just send me an email and I can send it to you. I haven't gone through all the lessons because I believe all in all it was over 700 pages, that whole course.
Mm.
I do have it all, and see, it was so nice to put it all in chapters. But I have the whole book, I think, as a PDF too. So yeah, it is. Sometimes it's good to have these, and I always print everything out. I don't trust my computer.
And something else is as we're moving through life and we're looking at everything has a duality. So you're going to find people that absolutely would not even think of not doing a fermented food. And then you've got people that would definitely never do a fermented food. And the issue with that is who's right. And that's why you have to be explorers. Try it. If you really think it's going to be good for you, try it. But your body will let you know if it's good for you or not. And we
Yeah,
have to.
but you know what it is, Gary? We are so used to the aches and pains and consider them
Mhm.
normal. And that is, I very well remember when Dr. Moore said, if you are healthy, you do
Right,
not feel your body at all.
right,
It's
right. You
like
don't.
you walk on clouds. You
Yep.
don't have any aches and pains. And look back on your life. We all grew up with aches and pains as a
Hmm.
child, and it was always normalized.
Yep.
I speak with people who have, they're in their 40s and they had horrendous menstrual cycles with headaches and cramps and pain. And I'm through that now, but I remember those very, very, very well. And it's like, well, it is what it is. And we took a little we called it, or I called it, the little blue pills for the pain. And I was never, never one for pharmaceuticals, but that pain was so horrible that
Mm.
I did take them maybe once or twice just to get through the day. until I could handle the pain level again. But that's not how, that was already a signal something was not right. But we didn't know. We just got a painkiller, you know. We didn't go to the cause. No doctor told you to go to the cause. And I had an amazing doctor, and he was a homeopath. And but even he didn't go to the cause. Was yeah, and that's not what they have been taught. And that's where I can, you know, thank Dr. Morse for is like always look for the cause.
Mm-hmm.
I've been following many. I mean, I see now that, oh, the great Dr. Berg, and then you have Dr. Bergman, who is actually a wonderful person and very active on the internet explaining things. And then we have got a comedian who is so wrong in so many things. But anyway, I don't even want to talk about him. But there are others where you think, yeah, oh my God, they must be right because it all seems so they explain it and you think that you understand, but then you follow them for a while. Six months was always my minimum, you know. It was like I have to do this for 6 months, and if there's no result, then this is not what I need. And so that's where I came to learn about Dr. Morse, and that changed everything because now things are making sense. Everything is making sense. And then you go back through your life and you see like, yeah, okay, that was that, this was that, and now everything is like it all makes sense, you know. I had issues with the digestive tract from birth. I had issues with ear infections drinking milk. Can you imagine? You start, that was 6 months old. Now, I must say, at 6 months old, I also got the first vaccination. But, and that was not the way it is now. But that was when you get your first cow's milk. And when I absolutely refused to drink any cow's milk, and I was 12 years old, and that's exactly when the ear infection stopped. So if we talk about the side effects of fermented foods, and that was a big part of it. And these middle ear infections, both sides, are no joke. And for kids to have that, and for doctors to not even consider any link with foods, that's just, yeah, that is so ridiculous. I think the doctors are even more brainwashed than we are.
Definitely.
Yeah. Anyway, what else do we have here? Side effects. Ammonia. Fermented soy may be as much as 15% ammonia. Ammonia is dangerous enough as a house cleaning agent. You certainly shouldn't be eating it. Vinegar, in the form of acetic acid, also results from food fermentation. Gives a sour or sharp taste. That's a signal to the body it should not be eaten as it is harmful. Oh, vinegar prevents the digestion of foods. Isn't that interesting that people are taking it to have a better digestion?
Well, I never thought about it that way, but if you pickle pickles, they don't rot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It suspends them, like in animation. I mean, they're fermenting. I assume they're fermenting, but
It's the salt and the salt and the vinegar in it.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then they say that another acid that results from fermentation is lactic acid. It's a waste product. If you ever have exercised or worked harder than usual, you might notice a stiffness or soreness in your muscles. That stiffness results from a buildup of lactic acid in the muscle.
Mhm.
Now, eating fermented foods that contain lactic acid may not make you stiff, but it seems intelligent. But does it seem intelligent to eat food that are already high in waste byproducts? There is more. Other acids are also present in fermented foods. Carbonic acid is found in fermented foods and also soft drinks. All of these acids are the waste products by the bacteria which are feeding on the decomposing fermented foods. And another thing is it's low in nutrition. It's not a fresh food anymore.
Right. Well, you said something about it being death. Vinegar.
Yeah.
I think uh that's why I went where I did with
Yeah,
that,
and we
because
kind
that
of,
food's
yeah, we kind of like it that you can put, and I did, I mean, you can put food, save it up and for bad times, and there
Mhm.
may not be anything available. But when you think in a simple way of what foods you really need, I mean, it's not that easy to grow all your fruits, but grow all your greens, you can do it even if you want to, you can do it in your bedroom, you know.
Mhm.
I have this garden tower and it takes very little place, and if you want to do it indoors, not the healthiest way, but you can still use the soil in whatever else you need. And this is only in the circumstances that you live in a city, in a high rise, in an apartment or something. There's always ways. But that is the funny thing with the hurricanes here in Florida. The first thing that was sold out were always the bread, the canned food, and the milk and the water. Nobody looks at fruit or so we eating fruit and veggies. We always had, more than enough. Was always
Yeah.
there.
I think part of the problem with that is we've all been trained to look at labels, and they don't put labels on fruits and vegetables.
Well, yeah, they put peel on it now.
Yeah, but I mean,
If
you're
they
going
do,
over to read the ingredients, right?
right?
It's all dead food. It
Yeah.
doesn't matter. I mean, it matters what the ingredients is, but it doesn't really matter what the ingredients is. It's dead food, and it's processed food. And we know that on Friday afternoon, all the food in the factories are made with nothing but love. Because those people just want to go home. They don't care. They're there doing a job. It's not like a mom and a family, and your food is coming from the earth, from the garden, and it's being prepared with love for the family. And there's a huge difference in the food because our energy goes into that food, and we can change the frequency of that food just by our frequency, because it will, as we project our energy. That's why praying or whatever you're doing, uh, or taking your hand, and I've talked about this before, and just put your hand on top of the liquid, and it will change the frequency of that liquid to better balance your body. And you can do that with all your live foods. When you go up to a tree and you want to pick a fruit, ask the tree. You ever hooked onto a piece of fruit and it just wouldn't let go, and you're ripping and ripping and then nothing? Well, what I figured out was ask, and it will lead you to the one that is best for you. You can ask it that way. Which fruit on your tree is the best for me, and are you willing to give me? And it will fall off in your hand. I mean, it is incredible. And it's the same thing with herbs on the ground. You can ask, what's the best for me? And it will guide you. The energy will guide you right to that one. And you just pick it and eat it, or pick it and dry it and make tea, or whatever it is you're going to do. Uh, but
I think
nature
it,
knows.
yeah, I think at some point, Gary, we knew that instinctively or intuitively.
Yeah, it's
And
like,
yeah, I have never done that, the asking, and that it guides me to the fruit that is, that needs to be picked for me. The ones that I touched, they fell in my hand.
mm,
So, but yeah, I had the cherries 2 weeks ago. My figs should be ready in, I think, 2 more weeks. The mangoes will take a little longer. I have
mhm.
blackberries. There was one on it that was ripe and it disappeared, so something else got it. I was too
Wow.
late. I was too late.
Yeah.
But
Nature
the
knows what.
asking I have never done. And I go more and more into what you can do if you are really connected with nature.
Mm-hmm.
That things will be your intuition guiding you. And yeah, it's I'm gonna try that asking. I have not done that. That's interesting. I learned something again today. Okay, a little bit more before we're going to close up. And like I said, I cannot do the whole part. I will do this last section and then read you briefly what is further up in the lesson. And just email me to get the whole lesson. And we close up because it's already what is it? 18 minutes past the hour.
Oh,
The foods that are highest in nutrition are those which are eaten in their fresh, natural, and unprocessed state. As soon as food is tampered with in any way, nutrient loss results. Nutrient loss results. The longer a food is held in storage, the lower it becomes in nutrition. Fermented foods are usually processed or destroyed in some manner. After that, they are often stored and used over a period of weeks or even months. You can eat a pickle that was once a cucumber, perhaps 1 or 2 years ago, but it is very doubtful if any of the original nutrients remain in that cucumber. Many times foods are first heated to a high temperature before fermentation is allowed to occur. Milk is first heated or pasteurized to kill off all bacteria. Then it is inoculated with specific bacteria strain to ferment it into yogurt. The milk serves merely as a bacteria culture ground. If heat is not used, the food is often chopped, sliced, smashed, or blended. A whole head of cabbage does not readily ferment, but if you bruise and chop it to pieces, then the bacteria will do their natural job of finishing the decomposition process. When foods are cut, chopped, or sliced to start the fermentation process, rapid oxidation of the food and a nutrient loss occur. Well, I don't like to hear that because I do like smoothies. And since my husband is on the road 5 days at a time, we make the smoothies ahead of time. That means there's not much nutrition in it then, because it is chopped up and it is but I use frozen fruit. Now that doesn't mean anything, and we keep it cool so it doesn't ferment.
mhm.
So you can do 5 days. The 6 or 7 days you can it starts fermenting. It doesn't matter how cold you keep it. Yeah, well, if you freeze it, then it won't. And that worries me a little because I do like the smoothies. So does he, and a lot of people.
I still think they're better for you because they're clean,
Yeah.
and you may lose some nutrients in it. But most people aren't eating any nutrients. They're not. They're getting all synthetic stuff. So,
Yeah, that's very true. And can you see how much the body can adapt
mhm.
to all the non-food, to all the synthetic foods is still alive, but it is like, how is your life? If you're 70 years old and the person you see the most is your doctor, that's not a good life.
Yeah,
And if you have to be on a handful of medication 3 times a day for the rest of your life, that's not a good life either.
yeah. Most
And
of
then
it's a big
people,
handful.
and I have, I talk to people who say, "Oh yeah, I'm healthy, I have no problems," and then you start digging a little,
Mhm.
and there are a lot of issues, but people don't see it as all being related. I will give an idea about what is further in this section is well, the types of fermented foods in the diet. We already talked about that. It's about cheese and vegetables you cannot digest. Oh, that is the pickles. I never liked pickles, but my husband, a good pickle in Holland, you had good pickles. They were not that soft, kind of slimy pickle thing that you have here, had here. No, they talk about soy, tempeh. Tempeh is another one. You have a list with other fermented food, and then the section has the question and answers. When somebody said, "I think you're wrong. Whenever my stomach is upset, I can eat yogurt, but any other food bothers me." And the answer was fermented foods may be tolerated by people with poor digestion because in actuality, these foods do not digest at all. The body has the wisdom to recognize a spoiled and rotten food, which is what a fermented food is. It tries to hurry this food through the digestive tract to the anus, where it can be quickly expelled and not disrupt the body. You don't digest a fermented food, you can only quickly eliminate it. By the way, no food should be eaten on an upset stomach. Yeah, that's a big thing. People often make the mistake of eating something to soothe digestive upset. If you ever experience any digestive discomfort, this is a strong signal for you to skip or postpone your next meal. Fast. We always say that. You don't feel good, you feel sick, fast. Almost every country in the world has some fermented food that they eat. Do you think that means something? Traditional and popularity are the poorest way to determine a proper diet. The only authority you should rely on when it comes to determining what is best to eat is your own body.
Mhm.
We do not listen. In other words, the physiology and anatomy of your body are what make foods acceptable or harmful in the diet. Your physiology will not accept fermenting or rotted foods as a substitute for wholesome foods. Your body does not digest them. The waste products in such food that disrupt the digestion, the nutrient losses in fermented foods make them unbalanced. Learn about the physiology of your body and the mechanics of digestion. These will tell you more about a good diet than a mistake made by millions of others. There was another question. I make my own saltless and raw sauerkraut from fresh cabbage. God, I was going to say garbage.
Mhm.
That was not intentional. I also have yogurt made from milk of blended raw nuts. Yeah, I did that too. I enjoy these foods. They have not been cooked, salted, or so on. Why shouldn't I continue to use them? Let me ask you a question. Do you actually improve the cabbage or nuts or whatever you ferment by this process? No, you have processed them either by blending, chopping, liquefying, grinding, or whatever. You have fractured the food and encouraged oxidation and nutrient loss. You have allowed fresh and wholesome foods to slowly decompose and rot from bacterial action. What do you gain from all of this? Better health, mysterious benefit, nothing at all. If there's no benefit to fermented food, why go to all the trouble of adulterating your food? True, you are using the best of ingredients with no harmful additives, but by encouraging these foods to putrefy it. God, Gary. Every time I see this word now, I have to laugh. This is now ingrained in my mind. Okay, to give them a sour taste, you are wasting them and doing yourself no good at all. See, and I too, I was thinking I was doing a great thing. Well, this goes on. This is from the Health Crusader. It's only one page long, but it's almost 1:30, so we're gonna end this section here. And with a fermentation, I was always thinking, and I think Dr. Morse explained that once, it's about creating alcohol and how bad it is for your liver. And when you are already, you don't combine your foods correctly, you get gas, you get fermentation, and then you still add more fermentation. So it can create alcohol in the body. Or am I wrong about that?
No, it can. It can. What was it when people eat a meal and then they have fruit on top of it? the fruit will ferment,
Yep.
and you can actually fail a breathalyzer test. I think Dr. Morse talked about that. A guy, uh, he ate breakfast and he had some fruit, and he went down to Home Depot and they picked him up because I don't know if he was swerving or what, but anyway, they stopped him. They gave him breathalyzer test and he failed the test. And he goes, well, that's impossible. I don't drink. And that's what they found out was he had fruit in it, fermented and made alcohol. And he failed his breath test. So yeah, combinations, that's the other thing we have to really think about is what are we mixing in there? We mix a salad in a bowl here, but when we're going out and we're, having a snack here and we have lunch and then we have all these different things throughout the day, that's creating a salad inside our body. And is that helping to rejuvenate our body, or is it causing so much stress in the body that we're starting to experience a frequency that causes a dis-ease within the body? Because that's all every food is a chemical, and it holds energy or it doesn't hold energy. And are we able to it's kind of like the old saying, you are what you eat. Well, actually, you are what you metabolize, what you absorb, your absorption rate in your body. Because you can eat healthy food, and if you're not absorbing that into the body's still going to get sick because it's dying of thirst and lack of nutrition and oxygen. And oxygen is really the driving force. So, and what happens when something ferments? It has bubbles, and those bubbles are oxygen. Uh, so oxygen is a big part of everything, and the lack of it causes a frequency through our body that it can't maintain its health. But as soon as you start bringing those lungs in and you start working, you can work a lot of stuff through your body. I mean, it is mind blowing what I have seen reversed just from simple things. We're overdoing it, everything. It's like, well, if kombucha is good for me, then I'll have 4 a day, or if an aspirin a day, that turned out to be not good for people with heart trouble. They're not teaching you how to support the heart. They're teaching you how to medicate things. And our food is really, it's no different. It takes energy. It steals energy from our body to process it. So we can't live without it, but we're overeating everything. We're putting too much stress on our body, and it's starting to fail because of it. And that's why we always talk about detox. It's cleaning out what like if you ate for 3 days, your normal routine, maybe the fourth or fifth day might be a good idea to skip a few meals, or at least skip one meal and put some live liquids in your body to get things moving, because our food is so dense that it's congesting everything and it's making it harder and harder for the body to function.
Yeah, in the description, there is a link to the mucus-less foods list.
Mhm.
And everything listed in green fonts there is what you can eat during a detox. There's a lot that you can eat, but doesn't mean you have to eat all of them. I keep it to a few foods that I like and that are easy accessible. Then from 1 to 7 on that list is all the foods that you can eat while you're transitioning to higher fruit and greens. Now, be aware, Dr. Moore said if you want to heal, then you go on all fruit. And I'm not saying that's all fruit for the rest of your life. That's because it is about detoxing and regeneration and not just lifelong detoxing. Although I know somebody who healed her MS with 1 year of fruit juices only. and she really healed. She no more MS. I mean, and that is a devastating condition. But she healed it that way. It doesn't work for everyone. And if you want to make what you eat sustainable so that you can do it for the rest of your life, because once you start eating healthy, there's no way back. You're not going back to the pasta, the pizzas, and the whole enchiladas. But you know, you do it once in a while, then at least make a healthier version of something. And because we are not the ones who say this is not allowed or forbidden or that is allowed. You do whatever you can, but do it with the right knowledge so that you know what these foods are doing in your body and what you really need. And this is, we talk about it in every podcast, what you really need to heal. So that is, yeah, that's about all that I figured I should want to talk about it. It's past 1:30. Janelle, I just put a message in you that I mentioned the lesson that we were talking about now, but you mentioned you wanted to know about the book last week, which was from Dr. Morse's book, the Detox Miracle Source book. So it's and I suggest everyone get that book because read it. I used it for my what on the course and went through it twice, and now even now when I read certain chapters, it's like I must have missed that when I was studying it. There is so much great information in it, and Dr. Morse had such a good way of explaining things. So if you don't have the book, go get it. I mean, Amazon, you only need to type it in. Oh, this is funny. I saw it this morning because I was actually looking if the book was already translated in Greek for someone. And then I saw all the versions of all the well, where it was listed at eBay. There was one person asked $350 for that book. And then I saw one for 15 or 14 or $15 being used. So but new you can buy it for under $30. And there is actually still an spiralized spiralized. You do that with veggies. Spiral binding book available too. And I really like those. So I have one of those and one of the regular ones. So you can still get the book, get it. It will, if you need to detox, and of course it's always fun listening to us too, I hope. And you learn more because Dr. Moss does not talk about opening the 6 lymphatic gates. He does not talk about Qigong. He does talk about breathing, deep breathing, but or actually he wrote about it in a book. It does not come up in his as a healing part. It does not come up in his videos, which is too bad. So Gary does it.
Yep. So I do it.
And yeah, and we add these little things because it has shown that it works. And that is important. People have results. So anyway, I have no clue what we're going to talk about next week. I said the same thing last week too. So something will come up. And thank you all for being here.
This was a wonderful show. Thank you very much. Yep.
Yeah, much love to everyone listening, and for the people who listen to this podcast, you know, when it's not live anymore. The description is always there, and the links are always there, so you can always reach me or Gary or Katie or Sarah. And if you want more information or you want the article, just send me an email. So, guys, till the next time, have a amazing day.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Love you
Much
guys.
love for everyone. Bye-bye.
See you next week.